we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to the first big story of this evening, and that is Batgirl. For those who don't know, Batgirl has been officially canceled by Warner Media. This came as a surprise to me today. I just dropped out of nowhere as this film, which was supposed to be coming to HBO Max, have a limited theatrical release. I mean, the details are always kind of weird and sketchy, but it's like, okay, they're working on a Batgirl movie, sure. But now, hours ago, chat, the axe of Zaslav came down and decapitated poor Batgirl, chat, even before anyone saw her film. And, it's very frustrating, but, I'm curious as to why this is. And a lot of articles, a lot of publications have released information on it. I'm going to read this article from Variety, and then we can dissect it. And I have another article also from Entertainment Weekly that might also provide another explanation as to why the film has been canned by Warner Brothers. Batgirl, the feature film adaptation of the DC Comics character, has been killed at Warner Brothers, Variety has confirmed. It will not premiere on any platform at the studio, neither theatrically nor on HBO Max, which it was originally supposed to premiere on. Production starring Leslie Grace as Barbara Gordon, a.k.a. Batgirl, and directed by Bad Boys for Life and Miss Marvel filmmakers Adil El Arbi and Bilal Fallah, was greenlit in 2021 as part of the company-wide effort at Warner Bros. To create feature films specifically for HBO Max. But the new corporate regime at Warner Bros. Discovery has pivoted the company's priorities back to theatrical features, leaving Batgirl without a proper home. Also, the chopping block Scoob holiday hunt. So it's not all bad, Chad. They killed Scoob, too. Thank God. A follow-up to the 2020 film Scoob has been shelved by the studio. Now, for those who don't know, I despise that movie. I think it sucks. It's horribly animated, horribly voice acted, horribly written, chat. So I'm like, all right, good. I'm glad they got rid of that film. In any case, whatever. Moving on. Footage for the animated adaptation of the Scooby-Doo series was showcased in a sizzle reel for HBO Max back in December 2021. Sources indicate that production had cost Warner Brothers $40 million. Studio insiders insist the decision to axe Batgirl was not driven by the quality of the film or the commitment of the filmmakers, but by the desire for the studio's slate of DC features to be at the blockbuster scale. Batgirl was budgeted to screen in homes on HBO Max and not for a major global release in theaters. The initial $75 million production budget for the project, which finished principal photography earlier this year, it's done, and was in post-production. It's like the movie is literally fucking shot, chat. It's done. Reached $90 million, due in part to COVID-related delays and protocols. The decision still comes as a shock as studios almost never shelve productions outright, preferring to get at least some return on their investment. It also comes as Warner Bros. Is still contending with what to do about The Flash, a DC adaptation created and budgeted specifically for theatrical release in 2023, rumored to cost up to $250 million. The film has been utterly hamstrung by repeated allegations of abuse and misconduct by Ezra Miller. And it's not like Batgirl was a small movie either. Along with Grace, J.K. Simmons plays Barbara's father, Commissioner Jim Gordon. Michael Keaton reprises his role as Batman, as he also does in The Flash. Brendan Fraser plays the villain Firefly, which is the first cinematic version of the character. And Grace told Variety in April that she had preliminary discussions with the directors about what a sequel could be. And she goes on talking about, what the character was going to be. She's a biker chick. You're going to see her do a bunch of badassery, according to her, quote unquote. There were a lot of long days, but it was so worth it. And the New York Post originally covered the story and broke the news, chat. There's been a lot of stuff that's been coming out about this. So one, I just want to kind of go over my initial reactions to this news. I was taken off guard, like everyone else. I was very, very surprised. However, I have to say, I was initially kind of, upset, or just kind of like, that's like annoyed by the fact that Warner Bros. Was making certain DC films only available on HBO Max. Like, they're not going to have a theatrical release, so this one apparently was kind of going to have somewhat of a theatrical release in any case. Like, they announced all these films, Batgirl, Static Shock, and Blue Beetle, and they were all going to HBO Max. And I'm thinking, that's kind of shitty. It just stuck out to me like, so all your you have these films, which all star either women in the lead role or a person of color in the lead role, and those are all going to the streaming service. But then you have all these other films where like, those are more deserving. That just never sat right with me. That always felt like you just don't have a lot of confidence in these specific films because they star minorities or because they star women in leading roles. I was like, that to me, this was never a good look. And I feel like that wasn't a good start to these announcements. But in any case, they were exploring some type of theatrical release for Batgirl, maybe for Blue Beetle, who knows, maybe for Static Shock. Now, there's been a lot of stuff coming out about, this whole thing as to why, Warner Brothers has released statements and it's been covered by Variety saying that, and some other ones too, The Wrap, saying it has nothing to do with the quality of the film. However, now it's like immediately afterwards, and this is being covered by both the New York Post and Entertainment Weekly. Apparently, Batgirl was shelved by Warner Bros. Following extraordinarily poor test screenings with test audiences, chat. I'm going to briefly read this, and I want to kind of come in and talk about maybe some of the other things that are just weird about this whole production and just the state of Warner Brothers, chat. The superhero movie, so it kind of goes into, the whole thing I just talked about. According to the New York Post, test screenings were received so poorly that the studio decided to shelve the nearly completed film. Originally greenlit at $70 million, which we brought up before. Budget for Batgirl reportedly ballooned to nearly $90 million due to part to COVID delays and related shutdowns. In addition to Grace, the cast included Brendan Fraser as the villain. And kind of goes on about like who else is in the sequel, and also talking about some of the other films. But they're also saying that apparently that test screenings were so bad for this movie that they went, fuck it, we're not gonna release this. Now it's coming out that they're gonna kind of write this off as a tax write-off, chat. Try to recuperate some of the money that they lost spending on this film. I kind of want to go into detail as to just the situation at Warner Brothers right now, because it's interesting. Because a few days ago, last week, we had the announcement that Ben Affleck is returning as Batman and Aquaman 2. Now, we were told originally that Ben Affleck his last appearance as Batman was going to be in the Flash film, which was acting sort of as a soft reboot for the entire DC EU or DC Cinematic Universe, whatever you want to call it, yeah. Kind of in the same way that X-Men Days of Future Past was kind of like a soft reboot for the X-Men franchise. We're just going to kind of get the slate clean, set up for the future, and they inevitably fucked it up again. It got even worse, honestly. But that's what that film I feel like is in a sense is what it was going to be. It was gonna keep what it was gonna act as. They were gonna keep what they wanted to keep and get rid of all the bullshit they just don't want to have around anymore. But now that you're bringing in, Ben Affleck back as Batman, okay, you're still keeping him around, obviously. Apparently, he's replacing the Michael Keaton scene that's supposed to be in that movie, chat. And we know that Michael Keaton is coming back as Batman. He's supposed to make his debut as the character again in the Flash film and have a major role in that movie. And we also know, chat, that Michael Keaton is supposed to be the Batman in the Batgirl movie. And I'm getting the sense now, and one of their plans was, with the Flash movie, it was going to do away with Ben Affleck's Batman, have whatever scene he was supposed to have in that movie, and that would have been it. And then Michael Keaton would have come in as the Batman for this new universe of films. The thing is, that was just weird to me, and I don't mean to sound ageist, but the thing is, and I'm excited to see Michael Keaton, even though the Flash is that's a whole other thing. But I'm excited to see Michael Keaton return to this character. I like Batman '89, I like Batman Returns. They have their issues, of course, but I like him as Batman, Bruce Wayne. But the man is 70 fucking years old. He's 70, chat. And if you and it even confused me years ago, like, okay, you're casting Ben Affleck as Batman, which I'm not outright against that, but he's in his 50s, and you're going to keep him around for like possibly multiple decades as this character doing the stunts and the necessary physical work that needs to happen for something like that. That was always weird. And now you're bringing in an even older person to be your cinematic universe Batman. I was like, this kind of feels weird. And I wonder if they're retroactively going like, oh yeah, this isn't really going to work, to have him come in as the Batman of the DC Cinematic Universe. And he'll be in so I'm thinking like he'll be in the Flash movie, but they're effectively getting rid of Michael Keaton in Aquaman. They're getting rid of his scene in Aquaman. They're getting rid of the Batgirl movie, obviously now, which he's supposed to be the Batman in that movie. And now he's probably just going to be in the Flash film. So I wonder if it's just like they're reversing their decision on Michael Keaton as Batman, like in the DC universe that they want going forward. Because that was a big part of the old regime, chat. Getting rid of a lot of the Zack Snyder stuff and bringing in Michael Keaton's Batman. And there's also the whole thing with the Flash movie. Obviously, because of Michael Keaton's Batman, he's going to be in the Flash, and he's going to be the Batman in the Flash and in Batgirl. I feel like because that movie is so inherently connected to the Flash, and I feel like Warner Bros. Is still kind of up in the air, like we don't know what we're going to do. I imagine they'll probably release this movie I don't know how the fuck they're going to market it, especially with, Ezra Miller being as crazy as he is. But that's a whole other can of worms that they have to deal with, and having this one other project that is so inherently connected to the Flash film, like, we can't deal with that as well. It just wouldn't make any sense, and like how we release these movies just wouldn't make any sense. Because wasn't Batgirl supposed to come out before the Flash? Now it's like, where are we at this point? It's so confusing. And then, then the last thing is just, okay, what's going to be just the overall state of the DC cinematic universe overall? Like, what's going to be going on now as we get into the future? Because you just killed a whole. That means I'm trying to think of like a superhero film, because this is also making history, chat. I want to say, like, you finished a $90 million, nearly $100 million superhero movie. It's done. It's production, principal photography is finished, and you're just going to put that on the shelf. I've never heard of anything like that before. That's kind of nuts. And so what does that mean for just the state of the DC cinematic universe going forward? If now, like, you have all these big projects in some form of development, are they going to get canceled? Are they going to get shelved? Like, does that mean the Flash movie can possibly get shelved? Could they do a $250 million tax write-off? Like, these are kind of the questions I'm asking. And, my own personal feelings, and I'm disappointed because I don't feel I really like Batgirl as a character. I love Barbara Gordon. I think she's great. And they never, there's been awesome comic books featuring her. There's been great video game adaptations, obviously great animated adaptations. The animated series, I thought how they used her was wonderful, chat, especially in the third season of Batman, also in the originals, first two seasons, but especially in the third season. And obviously when we see an older Barbara Gordon in Batman Beyond, it's just like, God damn it. And like, this character can't catch a break when it comes to, her live action portrayals, Chad. Like, the last time we saw a live action version of Barbara Gordon in film was in the Batman Robin with Alicia Silverstone. It's incredibly frustrating. So yeah, it's disappointing, and it just shows the state of things at Warner Brothers right now. And, I feel like, listen, they have a lot of shit they have to deal with that is years ago because of the old regime and everything with the Zack Snyder films and how messed up all that was. Dealing with, this huge controversial figure of Ezra Miller being attached to this $250 million movie that's supposed to redefine the DC cinematic universe. Now they're like, well, fuck, what are we going to do now? They're in a very rough spot. And it's sad that the Batgirl film was one of the casualties, because I was interested in seeing that. I'm not too familiar with Leslie Grace. I didn't see A West Side Story, but I was interested to see what this interpretation of Batgirl was going to be. I was looking forward to seeing Brendan Fraser as Firefly. I was looking forward to see the return of Batman as a mentor figure, because we haven't seen Michael Keaton's Batman in that as a mentor figure, and that would have been interesting to check out. So it's a mess. It's when it comes right down to it, Chad, it's a mess, and it's a goddamn shame that it led to the cancellation of this movie and all the hard work. And I feel bad for the actors that were involved. I feel bad for the writers. I feel bad for the filmmakers. Like, this is like probably years of their life that they dedicated to this film. And it was In the Heights. That's it. Thank you. In the Heights thing. In the West Side Story, In the Heights, whatever. No one saw either movie. No one saw either movie, so it doesn't matter. But it's disappoining. It's disappointing to say the least. And I would have liked to have seen what they would have done. But man, I feel bad for the creative people involved in the film. But what about you guys? What are your thoughts on the Batgirl news? Are you upset about it? Are you actually happy about it? Did you have misgivings to begin with on this Batgirl project? There were some things which were definitely concerning. But I'm curious. I'm very curious.